Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another layout from our Ireland trip, and this is from the Book of Kells again. I warned you last time that there are several of these. This one focuses on the writing that was and the art of the writing that was done by the monks as they translated these books and added their own touches. That's what the photos are going to reflect, and I tried to add a flair to that in the design of this layout. Though it is following a sketch from a sketchbook, I added some punches and things like that to go ahead and sort of reflect what we're seeing in the photos, or at least I hope that that's what it's gonna reflect. So let's go ahead and check out my workspace and get started. All right, here is my workspace for today. And I've got my permanent and repositionable adhesive like usual. And I also have our my border maker system. We're going to use that again today. I know we used that last time, but we're going to do it again today. But this time we're going to use what we called the Elements Edge, the Elements Edge border maker cartridge. And this one I really like because it can be used for a lot of different things. It can represent wind, it can represent waves, it can represent a lot of different things. And in this particular instance, I'm going to be using it in more of an art brushstroke kind of theme, because today's photos, you'll recognize this as the right side of our last layout. But today's layout is going to focus on the lettering that was done in the Book of Kells. So you can see all of the intricate designs that were woven into the different letters that they drew and that they illuminated on the pages. So that's why I decided that this edge would be a really nice way to feature all of these. And my children were so good to pose right next to all of the things that I have closer photos of for this layout, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to set those up here until we get to those a little later. This is the same collection that I used on the last layout that we had, and so it's got this kind of quilted looking pattern. It's got this matching colored page. It matches the kind of teal color in this and in the splotchy pattern that we used in the last layout. And then it's got these black, almost chalkboard-like papers that have all sorts of different art-related designs. Everything from pencils to glue to music, scissors, yarn, paint brushes, safety pins, our adhesive, just lots of different aspects of creating, which I really love. Okay, so, and then we're going to use a little bit of the back side of this as well. And I also have some white cardstock out here, which we'll use to mat some photos, and I think that's all I'm using that for at this point. The layout we're going to do today is taken again from this the sketchbook that was created in 2021 called the 110 Scrapbooking Ideas and Sketches from Creative Memories, and this is located on page 93. This is a one-page sketch that I am turning into a two-page sketch because that's how I roll, and you guys know that that's basically how I do things. Any two-page sketch you can basically just take off the right-hand side and create a one-page sketch for, more or less. I suppose that does sort of depend on the type of sketch it is, but this one's really easy to just mirror and keep going into a second page, so that's not a big deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to set this off to the side because it does have some measurements and things that I have noted on it so that I can make sure I cut things properly. First, we're going to focus on these two larger pieces. We are going to flip out. I'm flipping out the this little foot right here on the bottom of my trimmer arm so that my trimmer arm will be more level. And let's see, this is directional, so we want to keep it set so that we have the top now is over here on the left. I want a 12-inch wide piece, but I want it to only be 9 inches. So I've stacked both of these pieces of paper, and I'm going to go ahead and cut these at 9 inches. That will allow me to have 3 inches at the bottom that I can play with for making the bottom portion of this layout, and it will allow me the room I am going to need to be able to punch the two edges of this paper. Okay, so for the time being, I'm going to set my trimmer to the side, but we will get it back out in just a moment. Right now, I'm going to just go ahead and punch both of the 12-inch edges of this paper. I'm going to punch. Okay, and I'm not sure if we can do this at the same time or not. Since this is designer paper, we may be able to do it at the same time. I'm going to try it and just see. And if we can't, then you will know that we can't. Some punches can do this really, really well. Other punches are a little too intricate. Let's see how this one does. Oh, I think it will work. Yes, indeed. Look at that. Okay. All right. So now we have both edges of this ready to go. Now we also are going to need to punch some white cardstock. So I'm going to grab my trimmer again, and I'm going to get my white cardstock, and I'm going to cut 4 pieces that are 1.5 inches. And actually, you know what? I think that's the hard way. So instead of doing 1.5 inches, I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 3 inches. This is a little bit of a trick. I need 4 strips, 4 border strips. I've got 2 pieces that are 3 by 12. 3 inches works in my border maker system much easier than 1.5. 1.5 I would have to add sticky notes to in order to hold on to it, which is doable, but not ideal. So I'm going to go and punch both sides of these 3-inch strips. All right, now I'm going to get my trimmer back out, and you could see that each time I had to turn my 3-inch strip, there was still plenty of room, plenty of space for my paper holding unit to grab hold of the paper. So that cuts down on time, because it allows me to not have to move sticky notes and play with all of that. Okay, so that leaves us with roughly 2 3/4, excuse me, 2 3/4 inches. So we want to cut that in half. So basically what we're going to end up with is 1 3/8 and 1 3/8. And basically you just want to try and keep it as straight as possible. You'll have almost 3/8, almost 1 3/8 on each side. And we're just going to cut this right down the middle. Okay? And it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit off. That's okay. It will be all right if it's just a little bit off. And even if it's crooked, actually, it would be okay in this particular instance. All right, so there we've got those pieces. Now I need a piece for this top part, and I need all of these pieces for the bottom here. So I'm going to use this kind of quilted pattern. Sorry, I dropped that paper. And I'm going to cut this. It doesn't really matter which way we cut this because it's going to be kind of against that wave any particular direction. So it'll be all right any way we slice it. Okay, I need a piece of this quilted paper that is 2 by 12. So I'm going to line that up and cut that at 2 by 12. Then I also need 2 additional pieces that are 1 inch. And actually, we may need 3 pieces of this that are 1 inch. Okay, and we need, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bring in this paint splotchy paper from last time. Do you remember? But we're going to use the other side, this kind of rosy side. I need a 1 inch strip of this. Let's go with 2 1 inch strips of that. We may not use it all, but we'll be prepared just in case. Then I'm going to take this paper that we used already. I'm going to flip it over, and I want this side, but I want my lines to be going the same way these lines will be going. So I'm going to just cut 3 inch by 1 inch strips, and I need 6. Like I said, just in case. All right, so that will work for that. Now we're going to come back in and take all these 1 inch strips that we've got, and we're going to cut them into 3 inch pieces. 3 inch pieces. And because this is double-sided paper, we really have a lot of different options that we can put together. So that's helpful for what we need these to do. So you should be able to get 4 sets of 3 inch pieces from each 1 inch strip. We are going to start this adventure by working on this area right here, the varying shades. And we just want a variety of different strips down that bottom edge on both sides of the layout. So we're going to start with one side, and then we're going to do the second side. Okay, so I'm going to just start. I'm just going to kind of lay these out here and see where we end up. Okay, so we have basically 5 different patterns we can use, and if we do the same pattern all the way across, let's see what happens if we do that. Okay, I think that's pretty balanced, and I think that's all the pieces that we will need. So I'm trying to think though. I think just trying to balance these a little bit better. What do we think here? A little bit more like that. I like that better for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stick these down, and they just go down one right after the other, right next to each other, and I'll be back. All right, now I'm going to set these two pages to the side for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and grab these pieces. So I need one of my dark black pieces and one set of the white. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is decide which of these is going to go which direction. So these go like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and just put my repositionable adhesive down the wider edge of this border. And then we're just going to place these together to make a shadow. So we don't want a whole bunch of that white to be showing, but we do want a little bit of it. And I have found in the past that if you just sort of line up both ends, the rest of it will fall into place. Okay, so you see how it kind of just gives it a shadow effect? That's what we want. And we're going to do that on both edges. Try to make the top and the bottom shadows the same, or as close to the same as you can. You don't want a giant shadow on the top and a tiny one on the bottom. That's not what we're going for here. And be careful, make sure you pat instead of running your hand across like I just did, because if you're using this same border maker cartridge that I am, because if you don't do adhesive all along those edges, they will fold on you. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with this side. All right, so those are both done. I have noticed that I neglected to cut two of these, so we need another 2-inch piece of our quilting paper. So let's go ahead and cut. For those of you that were saying, hey, you need 2 of those while I was cutting and I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. One of these days I'm going to figure out how to do lives, and then you guys can yell those things to me through your comments while I'm assembling, and I won't have to go back and do it after. Okay, so grabbing my papers, or my pages, sorry, not my papers, but my pages, we are going to take each one of these pieces, these 2-inch pieces, and they are going to go across the top. So we're going to, and I'm going to put them across the top with that kind of quilted look out, facing out, not the teal color that's on the back. Okay, so there's one. I'll do two. All right, so just like that. And then we're going to take this piece and it's going to go over the top. So I'm going to put some permanent adhesive a couple places on all the main edges, not on the punched edge, but on just beyond the punched area, making sure that my paper is going the right direction. There we go. And I'm just going to center it over the top of our top piece and our bottom piece. Okay, so just like that. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. And just to make sure that these are in the right place so that they match, I'm going to line up my pages like so. And then that way I can make sure that I'm not, you know, super off and have one a lot higher than the other. Okay, I want to make sure they're reasonably the same. And this guy right here, I have bent, so I'm going to put just a little bit of adhesive down and stick him down where he needs to be. There we go. Okay, so now we are ready to go ahead and place our photos. Let's see how we want to do this. I'm going to put this guy on the bottom because he's a little bit bigger than the rest of these. And we'll put this one up here on top. Most of these are cut in a 4x4 or as close to a 4x4 as possible. So we may not get as many photos on this layout as the original layout has, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that because, as you know, it's for me it's more about the photos, so I would rather have the photos make sense. And actually, taking a look at this one ought to go over here. This one ought to go next to it because these are the same, but they're larger here. We'll put that one with it. And then these talk about materials, methods, ink, pigments, all of that. I like that better. I think that balances much better. Okay, now the question remains, do we matte or do we not matte? If we matte, our photos are going to mess with our pretty border that we have. We could realign it just a little bit so we can see more of the border. Same thing here. Move that up so that these are about the same. Those are about the same level. then these two are a little bit lower so that we can see more of that pretty punched border. Okay, I think we do need to mat at least a few of them for emphasis. So let's see which ones. I'm going to grab my cardstock and I'm just cutting some of these at 4 1/4 so that we can highlight just a few. Because the 4-inch photo just needs a little bit of an edge. It doesn't have to have a ton. Let's see. Actually, I need a little bit wider, so let's go with, this one is 4, but it's 4 by 5 1/4, so I need a 4 by, I need a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This one has my kids in it, so it's going to get a frame. Okay, so we've got those two. Do we want any more? Probably this one. And this one is a 4 by 4 1/2. So we need a 4 and this is already 4 1/4. So we need a 4 3/4 for this one. And maybe we should do this one with this other 4 by 4 that I cut, and then it will be relatively balanced. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get these adhered to the page. Okay, so now we have all of those attached to the layout. It's time to do embellishments, and so I took a second and went ahead and pulled some possible embellishments out. The difficulty with this particular layout and finding embellishments that are appropriate is that most of the colors that I used in the paper for this, because they work well with the photos, make it difficult for me to find embellishments that match, because this particular paper pack didn't have any. So I'm kind of having to fly by the seat of my pants and create my own. So I made these two little flags. They're just 2 inches by 3 1/2, I think, when I started. Yeah, I think they were 3 1/2 when I started. And so I used my flag making punch and I cut these notches in. You can use a punch or you can just do it manually with your scissors. And I'm going to add these to my layout. I'm going to just go ahead and put some adhesive on them, and then I'm going to slide them underneath these photos here and just attach them so they're about 1/4 of an inch from our border on the side. Try to make them level and in the middle of the photo, and make them roughly the same place on each side of the layout. Then I can add other embellishments on top, or I can use those to journal in, or whatever. I've kind of put together a couple of cute little, what I think are cute little things. So these are the 2 pieces that came off of the ends of my flags, and I just put a little adhesive on the tip of one and then stuck them together. So those are going to be another base for some embellishments. I'm going to stick those right in here. Then I have this cute little thing that says cutest clover of the bunch, and it is bright green and doesn't match the colors on this page, but I'm going to use it anyway. And I'm just going to put it right down the middle of that. And then I have these cute little shimmer paper clovers that are the negatives from what I punched for my daily markers. So I'm just going to add those on, and then that will be that. The one for up here in this corner, I've just kind of assembled just with a couple of clovers and a monstera leaf, and just sort of added them all together. Into a cluster, and that's just going to go right on there. Just to add a little more green up in this corner. And then I have a couple of these cute hearts in the foil, and I have a treasured moments little thing. So that's going to kind of be my third embellishment cluster, and I'm going to put that kind of up here above this area. That way I can still use that to journal on a little bit. For this page. All right. So it is kind of tricky when you don't have paper that has matching embellishments. It can be kind of tricky to be happy with your the embellishments that you can come up with on your own. Sometimes I'm really happy with what I can come up with. Other times, not so much. This time I really wish that they matched better. This one matches all right to the kind of teal blue that we've got going on. The bright green, I realize, doesn't really match too much, but I'm hoping that because we have all these bright colors here and there, that it won't be too bad. Let me know if you have a suggestion for something that I could have done differently on this page for embellishments. I would love to know and get your ideas. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have learned a new technique or gotten a new idea that's inspired you to create something like this in your own albums. I'm grateful to the CM blog and to our Creative Memories team that puts together such great sketchbooks for us to give us ideas. And until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Have a great day now.